This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Ooh, T, it is a wind down Wednesday. Kinda, sorta, like, I'm just in a different type of mood today. But hey, we got a lot of good stuff going on. And we want to say thank you to you, the listener, viewer, for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review, because we don't give you anything less than that each Monday through Friday, each and every day. We're coming into your speakers and we're coming into your YouTube viewing experience. So yeah, go ahead and make sure you do that. Just give a little kickback. That's all we ask for. We won't ask for any money. It's free. Do it. Just do it like Nike. All right, T, we have a lot of good stuff on board today. Ronald Acuna led things off and got scored for the National League. We'll talk about that and whether or not that made a difference, and maybe we can peek into what he's going to see in the second half for Mr. Acuna. Also, DeAndre Hunter and the Hawks, they can't figure out the numbers. We'll try to see if we can figure it out and try to get you to where the Hawks will be with DeAndre Hunter going forward. And last but not least, and for the culture, T, you got to have some long money to go see the Bucks and the Seahawks play in Germany. We'll talk about all of that and for the culture. But first, T, the American League was able to pull it out 3-2. National League jumped out, got off to a pretty decent lead. Yeah. And, and our own nephew, Ronnie, he started off with a double and scored the first run of the game. I mean, it really doesn't matter about the All-Star game, but is this a peek into what we're going to see, going into the second half? Like, I would love to see that Ronald Acuna going into the second half of the season.
Yeah, I do believe so. And that's why I wasn't that concerned about the fact that he only hit 19 home runs in the Derby and was ousted in the first round, because, again, it was against Pete Alonso. So we kind of expected that. I was really interested to see what he was going to do last night. And he was Ronald Acuna Jr. in the leadoff spot, getting himself on base and in position to score a run. So if that's the Ronald Acuna we get for the second half, and we don't get the long bombs, but he gets on base, and we know he is amazing in his vision and ability to steal bases. So if he's getting himself in running position, and then someone, whether it's the 2, the 3, or the cleanup spot, gets him home, I'm good with how that looked. And also excited for Austin Riley, just as a reserve. He didn't come up as the MVP per se, as we had hoped. Right. Or whatever, but still just a good look from him. Again, just something to sneak peek into the second half of the season, because of course, like you said, the National League jumps out to a 2-0 start, and then all of a sudden in the fourth inning, it swings to the American League, and the NL is pretty much hitless.
Giancarlo goes
Yossi. Right, Giancarlo and Byron Buxton just kind of shut that down in the fourth inning, and then the pitchers rendered the NL hitless until Austin Riley in the 8th inning. So he gets a single and at least attempts to bring them back. So yeah, I liked what I saw from those two guys, and I think we'll see more of that in the second half.
No doubt about it. We definitely. I think also just to add one little nugget, I think the players being mic'd up it was pretty cool. That was really cool to see as well. And so Major League Baseball is doing something right.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball is doing something right, just a little something right. But
uniforms, I think, were a big. People seem to really like the uniforms. Most people liked them. I thought they were kind of cool too. But I know that was another point of reference for people on whether or not they like the game.
It was cool. Overall, I thought it was a good game, and you had the guys really fired up out there, guy coming in, to close everything out. He was super fired up. So that's good to see that the guys are into it. And, they got a little sense of pride in their prospective league. So now, T, speaking of pride, the Falcons may have lost it a little bit as far as Eddie Goldman retiring. We'll talk about the effect of that for the Falcons and what they're going to have to do next. But first, T, tell the folks about what they got going on at Bet Online.
Yes. So betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. You can find out all the latest sports developments, league reviews, news, and even last night, for example, would have been a great opportunity for you to make a bet. And you should have made it on the American League because, hey, they've won 21 out of the last 25 All-Star games. So this is the kind of site you go to kind of get insight on how to place that bet, as well as NBA over under for whatever your favorite team is. You maybe have an over under on whether or not the Braves end up winning the National League East for a fifth year in a row. Those are the kinds of things you go to betonline.net for. It's also a great source for sports wagering info, including live betting, esports, scores, and really some of those niche sports like MMA, boxing, and golf. So it remains the best spot for all of it. And they even have podcasts and news so that if you are a beginner in this space, you can get all the information so that you can make some smart bets. So head to the website today. You can use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action that's going on even today. And of course, for us as sportscasters, it's a really important part for us to kind of get information as well and just understand what's going on in the betting space. So this is where the game starts for you. This is where the game starts for you. BetOnline.net.
No doubt about it. Now, where the game starts for the Falcons is next week when the veterans report on July 26th.
Yes.
They thought they had a guy in Eddie Goldman that was going to help, solidify the interior defensive line, but he informed the team yesterday that I'm good. I'm done playing football. So I think that leaves the Falcons in a pretty difficult space because when you think about it, I think Eddie Goldman was a guy that was going to come in and play a significant amount of snaps. Excuse me.
I would agree. You're talking about somebody that had 6 seasons with the Bears, and really 4 of those 6 seasons were very, very strong, right? And of course, he's been in the league 7 years, but was out for the pandemic. But ultimately, yeah, you're looking at essentially a 28, 29-year-old, somebody who's still relatively young and still has a lot of
juice
tread.
left. Yeah.
Yeah, got a lot of good tread on the tires. So like you said, someone who could have given Dean Pease another option just to in his rotation. And so, yeah, I feel like I don't want to say it's a big loss, but I will say it does feel like a significant loss and something that at this stage in the game, I'm sure Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith did not think they would have to manage through.
Because here's the thing, like I literally talked about this. Well, we literally had a conversation about this before Eddie Goldman was signed, how the Falcons need to look at somebody in that interior defensive line because essentially you're going to be counting on Marlon Davidson and Taquan Graham, right? Like that's not ideal. Just to be quite frank with it, because those guys are unproven. Taquan Graham showed a little something towards the end of last year, but like you have to have a good mixture of veterans and young guys with something to prove. And I think that is how you build your team, because let's just be real. Like they don't have the amount of money to go out and get a guy that's, a top tier player and exactly what you're going to get. And that's 7 or 8 sacks. Those guys just don't exist for the Falcons right now. Right. So I think they have to look at somebody who has something to prove, or a guy you've drafted and you believe that he's going to be able to be capable of being productive in that rotation on the defensive line. So I think right now Terry Fontenot is probably working the phones, and I think I don't think they're going to have signed someone immediately because I think because they're so close to reporting right now. I think they're going to go with what they have, and then as things go along, as they start doing some joint practices, they may start having some conversations with the Jets, or not with the Jets or the Jaguars. Who they're going to be doing joint practices with. I think that Terry Fontenot is going to exhaust all his options at some point during this time so they can get that spot filled.
Yeah. He'll have to, because the other piece in there, as you said, with Taquan Graham, it's more of the unproven piece. And with Marlon Davidson, it's just a question mark that is always.
We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, every time we see the flashes of brilliance that we saw at Auburn with him, with the Falcons, the flash goes away because something happens. He's had multiple bouts with COVID, the injury piece. So that's always just kind of looming in the background of, we know you're good. We know you have every bit of capability, but we just don't know how much we can count on you because your body won't let you be great. So yeah, I think this will be interesting. And like you said, maybe once you get into training camp and maybe, someone gets released from another team, right? Maybe a veteran who still has some tread on him and maybe just wasn't a fit for the team he was on. And maybe that's another great pickup as well for the Falcons, and or someone who is literally still just in a space of prove it year. And this will be the perfect team for you to come and prove yourself to for just a year.
And last but not least, before we get out of here, we got to talk about the Atlanta Dream getting the dub against the Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah.
Tip Hayes led the way with 31 points. Atlanta Dream starting on a 2-game winning streak. Hey, they say when it's more than one, it's a streak.
Right, right. And also, that guarantees that they are on a brutal road trip and they're going to go 500 on that road trip, because literally they come out of the All-Star break, they stay in Chicago to play the Sky. That was a tough game for them. And then they come back home for exactly one game against the Sun on Friday. And now you got to go back out on the road for 4 more games. So I think that is really impressive for them to have taken the first 2 of those games, and particularly this game against the Aces, because the Aces had their number earlier in the season, but they really played a complete game last night against the team that is number 2 in the Western Conference. And like you said, not only did Tiffany Hayes just show up with a season high 31 points, but also they got Ryan Howard back. She, of course, was out for a couple of games with a shoulder injury, and sis came back on fire. 5 of 6 3-pointers. She also had 24 points. So again, you like what Tanisha Wright is able to do. You like it when the squad is healthy, and hopefully they'll start getting more of their pieces back for this final run in the season that may just get them to sneak into the playoffs. A lot of websites and a lot of pundits who follow the WNBA have them trending up at the top of the power rankings, if you will, for the WNBA. So congrats to the Dream for pulling that out.
The Atlanta Hawks are trying to trend up the power rankings in the East in the NBA. And one guy that can potentially is supposed to be a part of that, want a little bit more bread? We'll talk about exactly who that is right on the other side. This is ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T.